Hey everybody, it's Derek and welcome back to CRM Tip of the Day's Video Tips, your source for tips and step-by-step instruction on the latest version of Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So in this video, we're going to continue our voice of the customer discussion, and we're going to talk a little bit about response routing. Now, response routing works kind of in a two ways. They've got what are called conditions and they've got actions, just like you would think of from like a business rule standpoint or even like a routing rule standpoint in Dynamics CRM. Somebody's going to answer a question a certain way, and based upon how they answer that question, you can act on that and you can do something based upon those responses. Now there's a couple of different action types that you have available. There's client level action types that will actually take place on the machine or within the survey that you're currently doing, and then there's server level options. So maybe somebody is requesting follow-up or somebody is maybe requesting feedback or something like that. You have the capabilities on a server level to now go out and do something on behalf of that scenario. You could send an email to somebody letting somebody know that something has happened, or you could route something to a queue and create a new item for somebody to follow up based upon a customer response. Or if you're looking at it from a client perspective, somebody answers a question in a certain way. Maybe they say they're interested in products or services. So now maybe we have 5 or 6 questions that we want to display in that survey that are specifically related to products or services that you offer your customers. So it really does give you a nice way to go in and kind of customize the user experience based upon what they're currently actively doing in the survey at that very moment. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So I'm in CRM. I'm going to go to Voice of the Customer, and I'm going to go to Surveys. And I'm going to open up that tip of the day survey that we've created in past videos. And I want to draw your attention to the questions here. So what I did is I actually added 2 questions to this survey ahead of time. I added a question called, are you interested in learning about additional products and services, with a yes or no response. So it's just basically a single response option. And then I also added a multiple response question that basically says to list all of the products they're interested in, and then I outlined a few products. Now, real quick, if I edit this question and I go in and look at it, one of the things that you'll see down here is underneath layout, there's a visibility option. And so just like we have with some other elements within Microsoft Dynamics CRM, I could choose whether or not I want to display this item by default on the survey. Now for this particular item, I chose not to display it because I don't want this to actually show until they have answered a question a certain way. So I've got this set to do not display. Now if I close out of here quick, let's go ahead and set up a response routing. So what I'm going to do is up in my navigation area for the related elements, next to tip of the day survey, I'm going to go ahead and click my down arrow and choose response routings. And this is where I can start adding specific response routings to this survey. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new response routing. And in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and maybe we'll just call this, products or services or products. And then I'm going to save it. So just like anything, I have to save it before I can actually do anything. So what you'll see in here is there's a few different elements. There's the initial condition that you're trying to establish. So what is it that you're looking for? There's the action to take place if that situation is true. And then there's kind of your default action. Now you don't have to have a default action. You can kind of choose what you want to do within those situations. But at the same point, you do have the ability to have a default action, if you want to route it to another survey. So maybe you've got some different pages that you want to route to based upon a response. You want to route to this page if they do answer it a certain way. You want to route to a different area if they answer it another specific way. For our purposes, we'll just go ahead and add a new condition. And in this one, we very simply want to know if they're interested in products or services. And so one of the things that I did is obviously created the question ahead of time. So now when I come into here, I can see that the response routing is tied to the products and services response routing. It's tied to the tip of the day survey that I've associated with it. I could change this if need be based upon the item that I want, but in this case, it's associated with that. So then I need to pick the question that I'm working with. So in this case, the question is, are you interested in learning about additional products and services? So I'll select that, then it's going to ask me for an operator. So this is where I can kind of pick what it is that I want to work with. Now these operators are a little different than we've seen in kind of the application itself. Part of this is going to vary a little bit based upon the type of question that you've chosen and some of the options available. In this case, we'll just go ahead and say if a specific operator is selected, and what is the option that is selected? If the answer that is selected equals yes. and then we can go ahead and save and close this condition. So that's the condition that we're looking for. Now we need to determine the action that's going to take place if and when somebody clicks on that particular option. So now I'm going to go ahead and add a new action. Now, if I already have actions that are created, maybe you want to reuse an action or something like that, I certainly have the capabilities to do that. The other option that I have is I can just add a new action from scratch, which is what we'll do here. So I'm going to go ahead and add an option here. I'm going to call. So now the item that you have here is you've got two options. You've got it to set it at a client level, and you've got the option to set it at a server level. Client level is really going to be from a survey interaction standpoint. So I want to move you into this direction based upon what it is that you're saying. So this is the question I want to go to, the page or the survey or the item. The server is going to take place kind of behind the scenes, and this is where you are basically going to generate, activities that are going to be either emailed out to a specific individual or maybe directed to a specific queue within the application. We'll kind of show you both of these, but we'll just go ahead for right now and pick a very basic client one. I'm going to call this additional services. Then I'm going to go ahead and down here, I have to specify the survey that I want this to run off of. So in this case, it's going to be the tip of the day survey. Then I pick my action. So there's several different actions here. You can see there's show and hide. So based upon the question options that I wanted to go to, I can skip to a specific question. I can end the survey if I want to. There's options here for chaining the survey. So maybe I want to direct them to a different survey. Maybe I've got an unsubscribed survey I want to work with. Now there's some unsubscribe capabilities built into the surveys, but maybe there is a specific survey that has very targeted items for specific types of products based upon different options that I would want to chain to and link to, which I certainly could. In this case, we'll just go ahead and we'll show a specific item. So once you pick your action, now it does need to know, again, a little bit based upon the type of option that you've chosen, but it does need to know, what specific page in the survey you want to work to. So in this case, I really only have a couple. I've got my welcome, my complete, my tell us about your experience. So we'll stay at tell us about your experience. We'll pick the section. The survey page only has one section, agent experience. We'll pick that. Now, if I chose my kind of a multi-response option that had several different options, those are actually laid out in kind of a grid format. In this case, I chose a question. So I'm going to just go ahead and select the question. And then the question is, please select all the products that you are interested in learning about. And then I can go ahead and save this. And so now when this runs at a client level, it'll actually display that information in there. Now what I could do, and it does take sometimes a little bit to refresh, but if you were to close out and come back in, it would refresh this, or if you were to reload this, it would refresh this page. I could go ahead and add another option here at kind of a server level. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and add another response. Maybe we'll call this follow up. Now I have what's called a response outcome type, and this kind of defines, what is the outcome type that we actually got and the reason for clearing off kind of this information. And so there's an option here, maybe it was a low score on a particular question. Maybe we have a low threshold on that option. Maybe they've chosen to unsubscribe from the survey. Maybe there's a high score and we want to be notified of that. Maybe there's just a follow-up in this case. So these are just types that we can modify based upon our specific need. So then I need to know, okay, so who am I going to send this from? So this is where I could define if I want to send it, from a service account that I have or something like that. And then I could also specify what specific user I wanted to notify, or I could send it to a queue. So this is more of something that's going to generate some type of activity in CRM that is either going to be initiated to a specific person or to a queue. For our purposes today, we don't necessarily need to worry too much about this, but I wanted to at least show you the difference in what that screen looks like. So I'm going to close out of here. And then we'll close out of here. So we'll just open this back up here so you can see what this kind of looks like. So here I've got my condition, and then I've got my action to take place. So now if I wanted to, I could then go ahead and preview my survey and see how this would be consumed from an application standpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and hit preview. So now my survey is open. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Are you interested in learning about any additional products or services? I'll say yes, I am. And Now my question pops up. So, I mean, this is a very simplistic example, but it gives you an idea to see, what some of the potential capabilities could be as you're moving through this. So that's response routing. Now, that's a very quick intro to response routing, but if you think about it from an application standpoint, I think you can start to see all the different possibilities that are out there when you start including this into your survey. And then you start combining this maybe with routing rule sets at a CRM level and start routing things to different queues or different users based upon different items. It can really become a real powerful tool to make sure that you are, interacting and responding back to these customers based upon what they're saying. But again, I hope you enjoyed it. For all of us here at CRM Tip of the Day, I just want to say again, thanks for watching, everybody. Take care and have a good one.